Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Retro Pokemon TCG. For today's video, we're going to be discussing an ability that we once saw in the base set, and see how this ability has worked its way up through the Pokemon trading card game sets until it is here now in the current format. The ability I'm talking about is Energy Trans, which was on a Venusaur from base sets. You're going to see a little bit of a trend here with Energy Trans, as it starts its way on the Venusaur, goes to Sceptile, goes back to Venusaur, 3 grass starters. Pretty interesting. This video is basically going to be talking about the ability, how it's changed a little bit over the years, what Pokemon it was on, what different stages it was on, and so on and so forth. So, let's start at the very beginning with Venusaur from base set. Venusaur from base set had the Pokemon power, as it was known back then, Energy Trans, which stated that you can move as many grass energy from your Pokemon to another one of your Pokemon as often as you like before you attack. I don't know if it said before you attack, but I know that's what the new abilities now say. But you could not use the Pokemon power if this Pokemon was affected by a special condition. So if your active Pokemon Venusaur was paralyzed or poisoned, you could not use the Pokemon power. So a very common theme with these energy transfer abilities, or Pokemon powers, Pokepowers, etc., was that you would use cards like Pokemon Center, you would use Max Potion, things that would try to heal these Pokemon. You would move all the energy off of a Pokemon with all the energy on it, you would heal the Pokemon, and then you would move the energy back. Because sometimes these healing cards stated that if you healed this Pokemon, you had to discard 1 to all the energy attached to it. So that was kind of the reason why Energy Trans was a very neat ability. And now that we've had a look at the very original Energy Trans Pokemon, let's take a look at the predecessors. Next up we have Sceptile from EX, Ruby, and Sapphire. Another starting grass-type Pokemon would end up getting the next line of these abilities. I'm not going to read the ability again because it's basically the same thing as Venusaur stated. The only thing that was a little bit different about this Pokemon power was that they were now called Pokepowers, which is now short for Pokemon power. That was basically the only difference between the Venusaur and the Sceptile. Another couple of interesting facts about this EX Ruby and Sapphire set was it was the first set printed by Nintendo. Wizards of the Coast was no longer printing Pokemon cards. And also this would be the first set that would coincide with the recent video game releases, Ruby and Sapphire, obviously. The next Pokemon to come out after Sceptile was Venusaur from Fire Red and Leaf Green. Once again, Venusaur would get back its Pokemon energy transfer ability. So we go from Venusaur to Sceptile to Venusaur back again. Sceptile was only loaning the ability for a little bit before Venusaur said, "It's mine, you cannot have it anymore." This would be the first incarnation of the Pokemon EX. Back in these times, Pokemon EXs were treated more like Pokemon GXs from a couple of years ago, where you can evolve into Pokemon EX. But you still took 2 prize cards if you knocked out an opponent's Pokemon EX. So with 3 Pokemon cards being grass type and Pokemon starters, you might think that the next Pokemon might again be, I don't know, something like a Torterra that might have this ability. Well, I'm afraid you are sadly mistaken, my friends. Because the next Pokemon we're going to be talking about is Dark Dragonite from Team Rocket Returns. Dark Dragonite was very interesting because Dark Dragonite could only transfer darkness type energy. And back in these days, darkness type energies were not basic energy cards. They were special energy cards, which means you can only have 4 of in your deck. This could make things a little bit more complicated since you're playing a smaller line of energy cards. You're no longer playing, 20 energy that you can transfer and move around from Pokemon to Pokemon. No, you only had 4 energy cards that you can transfer however you liked. So, Dark Dragonite was pretty neat, but moving only 4 energy might not be as good as you might think. So yes, finally, there was an energy trans ability that was able to move a different type of energy card. Sadly, in this case, it is darkness energy. So what would Pokemon do next? Would they do a different type of energy? Would they go back to the grass type energy? The question is soon answered. With Magnezone Level X. Magnezone Level X could transfer metal energy and electric energy, which was very interesting, because you could transfer two different types of energy. It's also very interesting to note that Magnezone Level X was essentially treated as a Stage 3 Pokemon. You could not rare candy from, let's say, a Magneton into a Magnezone Level X. Now, the quickest way you could do it was have your Magnemite on the bench for a turn, rare candy into Magnezone, and then your next turn, you had to make sure the Magnezone was in the active spot so you could evolve it into the Level X. Because it was stated on the card that it had to be the active Pokemon in order to level up to the Level X. Your opponent did take 2 prize cards for knocking it out though, which was a small little setback, besides the fact that it's a Stage 3 Pokemon, to use this fun ability. The attack wasn't too bad on Magnezone Level X either. You could paralyze your opponent's active Pokemon, but then you had to discard the metal energy and the electric energy on the Pokemon. But you have the ability so you can just move it from other Pokemon and put it back on Magnezone so it's ready to go for next turn. Also keep in mind that with Level X Pokemon, you can use any abilities and attacks on the previous evolution Magnezone. So now with Magnezone out of the way, what would Pokemon do now? Well, it turns out they kind of went back to the grass energy types, with Sceptile from Stormfront. And there's not really too much to talk about with Sceptile from Stormfront. It's basically second verse, same as the first. It's kind of weird how Venusaur and Sceptile got so much love with this ability. And we skipped Meganium. Meganium gets no love here? What is going on? So, will the next one be a grass energy trans ability Pokemon? Or are we going to go to something completely different? And lo and behold, we finally did get our Meganium energy trans Pokemon with the new ability Leaf Trans. Meganium Prime from Heart Gold and Soul Silver, ladies and gentlemen. Meganium finally got to have the energy trans ability after it was skipped over in the Neo series. A fun thing that did come out around this time was the Rainbow Energy card. Now, for those of you that don't know, Rainbow Energy can be attached to any Pokemon, but you had to put 1 damage counter on that Pokemon when you attached it. Rainbow Energy can essentially be any energy that you want it to be, but only one at a time. So this meant when it was attached to a Pokemon, it can be a grass energy, which means you could transfer it over with Meganium's Pokepower. This would unfortunately be the last time that an energy trans ability would be printed on a grass type Pokemon. Sad. But it was time for different Pokemon energy types to get their own energy trans ability. We now turn to Kling Kling from Black and White. Kling Kling had the ability Shift Gear, which means you can move metal energy. But we did talk about metal a little bit ago, you're saying. But this time, metal energy is classified as a basic energy type. Finally, metal energy you can have more than 4 of in a deck. And around this time too, the Pokemon powers and the Pokemon bodies were officially gone, replaced with ability. That's it, just ability, which is pretty nice. So you don't have to confuse Pokepower with Pokebody, etc., etc. Another huge change about the Pokemon abilities was that they still worked even if the Pokemon was affected by a special condition. A very fun, important factor that you need to realize about Kling Kling and why it was so much more playable than other energy trans cards was not only did you have the aforementioned Rainbow Energy, but you also had the Prism Energy, which could only be attached to a basic, but it basically did the same thing as the Rainbow Energy. So that means you could transfer even more, special energy cards. And you could play so many different types of Pokemon in the deck. There was a successful Clink Clang version that ran Kyogre EX, Groudon EX, Darkrai EX, etc., because you had the Prism Energy and the Rainbow Energy. So you can run different types in the deck to counter weaknesses. So since we had a Metal Energy Trans ability, would we see one for Darkness like we saw with Dark Dragonite? It would be Darkness's turn with Hydreigon from Dragon's Exalted. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you like your Dark-type Pokemon and were jealous when Metal Energy finally got its Energy Trans ability to move more than 4 energy cards around, you look no further than Hydreigon. Basically, Hydreigon was the Darkness equivalent of Clang Clang. Hydreigon's Dark Trance ability was able to move as many Darkness Energy around as you liked. And with Darkness Energy now being a basic energy type, you Darkness Energy Pokemon fans can really have fun with Hydreigon. After Hydreigon from Dragon's Exalted, the next Pokemon we are talking about is Porygon Z from Plasma Blast. Going back to only moving special energy now, the ability Plasma Transfer allowed you to move around Plasma Energy, or Team Plasma's energy, however you wanted to call it. It did nothing significant. It was a colorless energy, and it just said Team Plasma on the card. That was really it. But the big thing with Team Plasma Energy was that some cards like Team Plasma's Lugia EX needed the energy in order to attack. And it was kind of pretty easy to get Team Plasma's energy, especially if you played cards like Colress Machine, which allowed you to search your deck for a Team Plasma Energy and attach it to one of your Team Plasma Pokemon. So you could essentially Colress Machine onto the Porygon or to any other Team Plasma Pokemon, and then move it over to Lugia EX if it was in the active spot. A very useful ability indeed. With the induction of X and Y, we saw a brand new energy type in the Fairy Pokemon. And when Fairy Pokemon made their debut, they came with the card Aromatisse. Its very first set, fairies in X and Y are able to use the Energy Trans ability. Appropriately named Fairy Transfer, you were able to move fairy energy around the board however you liked. One of the best decks with Aromatisse was actually a third place Worlds deck with Mega Kangaskhan. You could use the Fairy Transfer, ability to move the fairy energy, use Max Potion to heal your Mega Kangaskhan, and then move it back. This is probably one of the cases where an Energy Trans deck was one of the best decks in format. Maybe not the best deck in format, but pretty darn good. Fun fact, this was also the first time that the Energy Trans ability was on a Stage 1 Pokemon, starting a trend from here on out that this ability would be on more Stage 1 Pokemon. But we will get to those Stage 1 Pokemon a little bit later. We have 2 more to talk about before we talk about those Stage 1 Pokemon. The next Pokemon is Golduck Break from Breakpoint. Golduck Break had a very interesting ability because you could move any different basic energy around, which means you can move grass energy, water energy, darkness, metal, fire, so on and so forth. This is the first time a Pokemon Energy Transfer ability included all of these different energy types. Of course, the sad thing about Hyper Transfer was that you could not move your Rainbow Energy or in the expanded format your Prism Energy around because it only said basic energy. Pokemon breaks back then were kind of similar to Pokemon Level X's. You couldn't rare candy into them. You had to wait until the previous evolution, in this part, Golduck, was out on the field for 1 turn, and then you could evolve into the break. A great part about Golduck Break was that you could literally splash it into any different type of energy deck. Because, like I said earlier, you could run this with any different energy and still be successful because you could transfer any energy that you liked, which made this so fun to play with. The next Pokemon we'll talk about on this list is Lunala GX. This would be the last Stage 2 Pokemon that would have the Energy Transfer ability. It was simply titled Psychic Transfer. Didn't have to be a scientist to figure out a name for that ability, did ya? Weavile GX from Unified Minds. Ladies and gentlemen, if you love your Darkness type Pokemon like I do, Dark Trance is back in Weavile GX. Another Stage 1 Pokemon, Weavile GX, moving those Darkness energies around so you can, heal and do other fun shenanigans too. Weavile being a GX meant that if your opponent could knock out Weavile GX, they took 2 prize cards. So you did have to be very careful, and please protect Weavile GX at all costs if you decide to run this Pokemon. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, we come down to the most recent Pokemon in the Pokemon trading card game that had an Energy Trance ability. Of course, I am talking about Bronzong from Battle Styles. Bronzong had the ability Metal Transfer, which we have talked about this. We know what the video is about. It's moving energy from one Pokemon to another. That's what this whole video has been about if you weren't paying attention. But yes, this is currently the one card out of this whole list that is currently in the standard format. A fun thing you can do with Bronzong is you have a card called Metal Saucer, which means that there's a metal energy in the discard pile, you can move it to one of your bench Pokemon, and then use Bronzong's ability to move it to the active Pokemon, if that is your wish, of course. And that will end all the Pokemon that we can think of that have this Energy Trance ability. Of course, there are some different versions of the Energy Trance ability. Some Pokemon say you can only move energy from the active to the bench to the active, or certain types of Pokemon, like Team Magma's Claydol. Team Magma's Claydol can move any energy, but you can only move it to Team Magma Pokemon. This was essential in the 2004 World's Championship deck. Of course, you had some that were able to only move 1 energy per turn. One of the more popular versions of the Energy Trance ability was seen on Shaymin, the ability Celebration's Wind, which said when it was put into play, you can move your energy on the field as much as you wanted. And that is pretty neat. And then there were some that you could move the energy, but when you put the energy onto a new Pokemon, that Pokemon took damage. We're looking at you, Bronzong G. Looking at you, buddy. That will do it for today's video. We've talked about many different Pokemon with the Energy Trance ability. Grass type, electric type, metal type, dark type, so on and so forth. But of course, it does seem like that a new Energy Trance ability comes up every year or so. So maybe this time next year, we will have a new Energy Trance Pokemon. This is a new series of video that we are trying for this channel. If there is an ability that you want us to look at and its history through the Pokemon TCG, just let us know in the comment section down below. Also, leave your favorite version of an Energy Transfer Pokemon in the comments as well. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching Retro Pokemon TCG. I'll see you next time. I thought it was called Dark Trance again, not Shadow Connection.